Okay. Oh, I see. All right. Well, you are unusual. Okay. Let's look at some wisdom readings from the Old Testament and New Testament. First from Numbers. So the Lord said to Moses, "Gather for me 70 of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers over them. Bring them to the tent of meeting and have them take their place there with you. I will come down and talk with you there, and I will take some of the spirit that is on you and put it on them, and they shall bear the burden of the people along with you, so that you will not bear it all by yourself." Then from Ephesians, "Let no evil talk come out of your mouths, but only what is useful for building up, as there is need, so that your words may give grace to those who hear." And from the Gospel according to John, the 14th chapter, Jesus answered him, "Those who love me will keep my word, and my Father will love them, and we will come to them and make our home with them. Whoever does not love me does not keep my words, and the word that you hear is not mine, but is from the Father who sent me. I have said these things to you while I am still with you. But the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and remind you of all that I have said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid." May we hear these words in our lives for this day. Let no evil talk come out of your mouths, but only what is useful for building up, as there is need, so that your words may give grace to those who hear, so that your words may give love to those who hear. For some reason, that sounds like building resilience to me. Offering words of grace to those who hear. To define resilience, one person defines it as resiliency is the ability to overcome challenges of all kinds, trauma, tragedy, personal crises, plain old life problems, and bounce back stronger, wiser, and more personally powerful. Bounce back stronger, wiser, and more personally powerful. Or another definition of building resilience might mean being able to continue loving no matter what. When we talk about building resiliency, one of the things we need to think about, I think, in this whole process of building resiliency is speech, talking, just say it. Sometimes we struggle with talking. It's been a very, very difficult time for our church, not only for the church, but for the community. They were long-time residents of the community. And a struggle for the college. One Super Bowl Sunday, a group of people from the college were going to New York City. On their way, one of the vans in which they were riding pulled out in front of a semi-truck. The truck broadsided the van full of students. 3 people were killed immediately. Several others were severely injured. One of the young women was in her first year of college. She was a member of the church I was serving at the time. The church, community, the college was devastated, and I was a mess, even more of a mess than I usually am. It was such a painful time. That's one of the reasons I don't like to take van trips. or have van trips. We went through that time, and I was very involved in the whole process with the family and with the college. In fact, I was the one who went to be with the family that night and was the one who shared the news that their beautiful daughter had been killed. Several weeks had gone by after the service, and I'd seen the young woman's mother every Sunday, and we chatted. But, as time goes on, some of the connection isn't there, and I spotted her getting in her car one day downtown. So I jogged over where she'd gotten in her car, and her car was easy to recognize. It was some sort of a, I don't know what, dusty pink Lincoln Continental. I don't know where she got this car. But so I jogged over, and she was in her car, and she rolled the window down to talk to me. And so I was standing out there. I can tell you exactly where it was. I can take you to the spot. And as I was chatting with her, that wonderful question, how are you doing? Yeah. And so we visited for a while, and at some point in the conversation, I said to her, I really miss Julie. And the woman began sobbing. Just sobbing. And there I am, standing outside the car, feeling like a huge, huge smuck, because I had said her name. You know that feeling? I named the elephant. I said her daughter's name. Eventually she turned to me, and in her tears, she looked up at me and she said, "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying her name." Then she went on to say, "Nobody will say her name anymore. It's like everybody's forgotten her." And boy, was that one of those powerful moments of learning for me. I don't do it well enough, but it has stuck with me. It's okay to say it, to name the elephant. It's okay. In fact, sometimes people appreciate it. I mean, it's not like you forget. Oh, we don't ever think about Charlie anymore. Ha! You don't ever think about Linda anymore. Ha! Stop now, John. You can go clear through the congregation. I mean, it's still a part of your life. We don't say it. We don't name the elephant. Why? Well, I wouldn't want to cause you any pain. Can I translate that for you? What that really means is, I don't want to hurt, so I'm not going to mention it. Of course, when we think about the ones we've lost, we cry or get sad, or that just comes over us. I mean, it happens. But we need to talk about it. We can only build resiliency when we're able to say it. Yet, our culture, that "how are you" question, in their book, Option B, Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant say that in America, the Eastern and Western culture, when somebody says, "how are you?" the word "fine" is not good enough. We're supposed to respond with, "fantastic, great, never been better, I am on top of it, I mean, I am so good." Somehow we've got to break through this, and the way we do it is by calling the names of the elephant promptly all over our lives. I'm starting to say it's okay. It's not okay, but it needs to happen. That's part one of recognize the elephant in the room. Be willing to speak it. Be willing to talk about it. Quote from the book, Option B, by Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant. I'm sorry, Adam Sandler. Who in the world was that?
Wrong church.
Do I know anybody named that? Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant. Quote, "Death is not the only kind of adversity that summons the elephant. Anything that reminds us of the possibility of loss can leave us at a loss for words." Death is not the only kind of adversity that summons the elephant. Anything that reminds us of the possibility of loss can leave us at a loss for words. Elephant in the Room, Part 2. Resiliency, building resilience in our lives, is not a solo act. We can only build resilience when we are in connection with God and each other. And building resilience is not just so I can be okay, it's so we can all be better. We build resilience only through sharing. I know the last time you read through the book of Numbers, you were fascinated by this story about Moses. Moses, this great leader, Moses and Aaron, they led the nation of Israel out of Egypt. They stood up to Pharaoh. They crossed over into the wilderness. And Moses was this tremendous leader. He was in charge of everything. He was doing everything for everybody all the time. He was listening to everybody's problems, solving everybody's difficulties. He was mediating all sorts of squabbles. He was acting as priest, as prophet, as leader, as tour guide. He was doing it all. And Moses' father-in-law Jethro visited and said, "Moses, you're an idiot." I've read that. It's the Bible, right there. You need to find other people to help you. And so Moses had a chat with God, and God said, "Finally." And said to Moses, "Gather the elders of the people, gather them with you, and I will come down to all of you, and I will take some of the spirit that's on you, Moses, and put it on the others, and you will share the burden and the responsibility." We build resilience by being in community, by supporting each other. I count it as a privilege and an honor to be in ministry with you and be called your pastor. And I really don't want to take that for granted. But I do make some pretty big leaps of faith because I know who you are. When somebody calls me up and says, we've had a tragedy in our family, I go to church in Wichita that the family that lives in Rose Hill don't have a church connection, except the girls remember they came to the Rose Hill United Methodist Church when they were little. Would you have a funeral at your church? I say, yeah. We will. I know it's okay. And then I started texting, I started calling, and I said, whoa, what? And then 3 days later I say, wait a minute, what did I do? But you came together. People came, took down bell tables, set up chairs. This place was full yesterday afternoon for Christine Culberson's funeral service. In fact, we had to set up folding chairs. We had so many people. The football team helped set up chairs, and man, they took them down and put them away again after the service was over. People came, coaches for the young boys football teams, the coach for the high school football team, Ray Bowes. They were here. They were greeters. They welcomed people. People made cookies. People had coffee, tea, water. Kay Walker came and helped decorate. She was vocalist. She worked with the family. She even ended up singing Let It Be, accompanied by the sound system. This church, once again, opened our arms and embraced the community. I don't know what difference we might have made in this family's life, or the difference we might have made or will make in the life of people who live in this community or who know about this church. But we were in the process of building resilience by you being the kind of church where I could just say it. Yes, you can have your service at our church. Thank you. Thank all of you who helped in whatever way you did to make it possible for us to host a service to recognize the loss of a person in a very tragic death. So let's go to part 3 of the elephant in the room. It needs to be said. Yeah, we're talking about being resilient, we're talking about building resilience, but let's not confuse ourselves. Let's not get mixed up. Let's not make the mistake of thinking that we're always going to be resilient, because resilience is not always going to happen. We will fail, we will mess up, we will lash out, we will hurt others, we will make bad decisions, we will do wrong things, and we will die. And sometimes we will give up. Let's just be honest. We are not, nor is anybody else, always resilient. I do want to say, if you're thinking about totally giving up, please call me. But it happens. And we're not being very resilient if we're not willing to admit that sometimes it's just too much. But we keep on loving each other, we keep on caring, we keep on trying to bounce back, stronger, wiser, more personally powerful than before. So part 4 of saying, naming the elephant in the room. We need to talk about how we talk. Sometimes we talk about building resilient, about being resilient, and we forget that our language, our speech, the words we choose, the words we use are extremely important. That's why I chose this verse from Ephesians. Do not let any evil words come out of your mouth. Oh, John, you're in trouble. Do not let any evil words come out of your mouth. But if you need to speak to each other, speak words of grace. We need to be able to speak supportively, encouragingly, and lovingly to each other, to ourselves, about each other, and about other people. I keep hearing conversations in which people are saying to me, wow, the people around me are so hostile. Now that's the word I hear, hostile. And most often it happens in language. Being resilient, building resilience is bouncing back, stronger, wiser, more personally powerful. And the way we do that is by the words we use when speaking to each other, about each other, and speaking to ourselves and about ourselves. Part 5 of saying it, naming the elephant in the room. Each of us bears some responsibility to say it. In their book, Adam Grant and Sheryl Sandberg, I think I got it correct that time, say that Adam said to Sheryl, Sheryl, you're doing a lot of whining that people don't seem to care about your husband Dave dying suddenly while you were on a trip to Mexico. But Sheryl, you need to be willing to talk. He keeps saying nobody will talk to you about it. And she says, well, nobody wants to talk to me about it. I went to a gathering. All of my friends, they knew me, they knew Dave, but nobody wanted to talk about it. Instead, we're sitting around saying, yeah, boy, the Warriors are really crushing it this year. Adam said, Sheryl, when people ask, you have to be willing to tell them. That means I have to be vulnerable, right? If somebody says, how you doing, John? Oh, great, great, great. Couldn't be better. I mean, if somebody's just saying, hey, how you doing? I want to make sure that I recognize you. We know both of us are on our way someplace. I'm not talking about that, but I'm saying when people really give us an opening, we need to be willing to step in and say it. I mean, I can go around all the time and say, well, nobody ever talks to me about how things are going. Oh, John, have you said anything to anybody? No. need to go a step further. We need to explain what we're thinking, and we need to be willing to listen to others explain what they're thinking. Charles Sandburg writes about a young man named Anthony Acapano, a Puerto Rican young man born to an immigrant family, and Anthony said he felt the pressure from his family, the pressure of the American dream to be the representative of the Puerto Rican community in his town. He said he felt great pressure. He was representing not only himself, but his family and all Puerto Ricans in the way he functioned and behaved, how he did in school, how he acted. He said he felt that pressure in his life tremendously. Not only did he feel that pressure, he was also carrying, I'm just reading from the book, okay? He also was carrying an additional weight that he kept to himself. For the hardcore Catholic Filipino immigrants that my parents were, having a gay son was never part of the plan. He said he became a sociology professor, studied the challenges of coming out, especially to immigrant families. He talked about a Filipino teenager who drank from a cup, then watched his mother throw it away because she thought it was dirty because he was gay. When another immigrant son came out to his family, Anthony found out. They drove into Mexico, took away his passport, and let him out of the car so he learned how to be a man. Anthony said he saw the paradox of immigrant parents knowing the pain of exclusion, yet inflicting that same pain on their LGBTQ children, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning children. When Anthony finally told his parents he was gay, listen to this. When he finally told his parents he was gay, he also shared with them the research he'd done on the damage caused when families turn away from their own. The children look for acceptance in drugs, alcohol, and unsafe sex, he told them. They remember it for years, and it affects pretty much every aspect of their life. She goes on to say that with Anthony's thoughtful engagement with his parents, not only did he just say it, he explained it. He gave them the research. He gave them the background with this thoughtful process. Eventually, they were able to accept him to the point that now he and his partner are invited to every family gathering, invited to be full participants in the family. This really struck home with me. I so often just want to say it. I just want to blurt it out. I want to say it. But too often, I'm not willing to explain myself. Here's why I think this. Here's the reason behind what I'm saying. Furthermore, much too often, I'm not willing to listen to your explanation of why you think the way you do and your reasoning behind your thoughts. Sometimes I'm kind of a wishful thinking guy. I throw that penny in the wishing well and say, man, I hope everything is okay in my life from now on out. What I wish is, I wish I trusted Jesus' words when he says to me, behold, I will send an advocate from God the Father who will teach you everything and remind you of what I have said, who will help you speak. Therefore, my peace I give to you. Do not let your hearts be afraid. most of the time I don't name the elephant because I'm afraid. May God give you peace and grace, and may you find the ability to build resilience in yourself and each other, now and forever. Amen.